comes to the check of Svarup Damodar and he totally smashes it. So when he instructs him how to properly compose kavya, then he gives him these instructions that he has to take shelter of the Vaishnava who explains him Bhagavatam, and he has to be surrendered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and has constant association with Gauranga's devotees.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
It's quite a famous verse, actually. I just don't
I remember it. That's why I was asking which verse it is, because I thought it was a verse. Because
which
it is
verse it should be?
But I guess we can put up. I am a little discouraged because somehow.
Maybe.
Sorry.
Krishna Mataji, can you finish it?
No, it's okay. Probably better if I don't say it.
Yeah, for me, the lecture was quite interesting that we are used to hear these understandings for a long time from Madhavananda Prabhu and from Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. So for me, was like, yeah, I've heard all these things.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But I can imagine how crucial it might be for the general audience of devotees not acquainted with that type of presenting the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. I can imagine that it can create really strong samskaras, as it created to me when I've heard it from from the other sources I mentioned.
Uh-huh. Yeah, maybe that's why I kind of couldn't really say what it's about, because for me also it was kind of familiar topics that I'm used to hearing regularly.
Yeah, that's why last time I was saying that if Madhavananda Prabhu would listen to the lecture, he would be happy. Because that's what we hear from him.
Yeah.
On and on and on in a positive sense.
Yeah. I was just saying that I feel a little discouraged because I feel that every week I'm making this resolution that for next week I'll make the time and I go through everything nicely, and I feel that really I don't make the most of this opportunity, but I just kind of can't. I feel quite overwhelmed with other things in my life right now, and it's just kind of keeping me alive, but it's not, I don't feel that I am really able to enter deeply, so I feel discouraged. I feel a little discouraged about that. Anyway, I'm hoping that I hear some of your realizations and maybe that will do something. And I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
This is about this Tattva verse. You know, the
Bhakti Tattva, yeah.
Yeah, the Tattva verse. Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Prema Tattva, Sara verse.
Mm-hmm.
Famous verse, often quoted.
What? I'm sorry.
I said famous verse.
Yes.
often
Yes.
quoted. And just recently, somebody who is, how should I say, let's just say an old friend, very old friend, got sister at one point, who is regularly hearing from Shamarani and other Vaishnavas outside ISKCON out of pain for not having found the person that they feel inspired to take initiation from after 33 years or so in ISKCON. And she was mentioning to me that, yeah, they are studying all these tattvas with some disciples of Narayana Maharaj. And she was mentioning pretty much all of these tattvas from this verse. And I certainly never made a systematic study of all of these tattvas. And I can't even say that I heard much about it as such, like in these terms. Like I can't say that I never heard about devotional service or, but I don't know that I can, like I really didn't relate to what she was saying. I didn't, maybe because my ignorance is so overwhelming, but I felt that I wouldn't mind understanding just basically what belongs to these tattvas. And I have no idea, maybe my husband has some good thoughts to share with me about that. Krishna tattva, bhakti tattva, prema tattva, sara, bhava tattva, rasa tattva, lila tattva, ara. I mean, I heard it quoted, of course, I heard it quoted from ISKCON devotees also, but have any of you ever studied the truth of emotional ecstasy?
I've had some thoughts to it, but Madhavananda Prabhu, please. But you're muted.
Muted,
Yes.
love.
Madhavananda.
Wait.
You're muted, love. We can't hear you.
What is the question? I just jumped in. You're asking what is the meaning of this verse? How does this verse apply to the Bhagavatam? What is the esoteric purport of the verse? I don't understand what the question is.
Several questions. I was saying how one devotee was mentioning this verse to me. Actually, she didn't mention the verse, but she was mentioning all of the tattvas listed in this verse as topics that she's studying at the present moment under the direction of some of Narayana Maharaj's disciples. She's an ISKCON devotee for the last 30 whatever years. Her husband is translating Gurudev's books into Hungarian. You will know them. And I was really struck by her comment because I never particularly thought about studying any of these topics as such.
You're really struck by her comment. Her comment was that she quoted this verse. What was her comment?
That she's studying these tattvas specifically.
You're struck by the fact that she's studying the tattvas. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Because I looked at this and I can't say that I never heard anything about it, because Prabhupada's books are full of things which I guess belong to these categories, but taken them out as tattvas like this, I can't say that I ever studied them or even thought about studying them. And I'm wondering about the necessity of doing such studies and what your thoughts are about the esoteric meaning of this listed in this way.
Well, first of all, what is the necessity of studying tattva? What is the necessity of studying Shastra? Shastra teaches us tattva. Guru Maharaj speaks about that so much. And there's so many verses about the necessity of understanding things in tattva. Krishna speaks in the Gita that Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yovati Tattvataha, you should know me according to tattva. it's very, very important. That's the purpose of Shastra and the purpose of Guru to teach us according to Tattva.
Okay.
Now, what particular place these have here? That's the other question you have. What particular relevance these have to us or something? Is that the question?
I guess I just felt sort of clueless with this verse. Maybe it's just my deep ignorance, and maybe I should not say more today. Maybe I'm just enough condition that I should just shut.
Oh, it's okay. We're just having a discussion. Please forgive me.
No, we are discussing because His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj is citing this verse in his lecture, and he's saying this is the essence of Bhagavatam and teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this verse, and that Bhagavatam is not just a literary work, but it is identical to Lord Krishna himself, and that's why we have to understand all this.
Right.
And Krishna Kund, she was struck not by that somebody is learning this truth, but that somebody of an ISKCON devotee is learning this truth from disciples of Narayana Maharaj, not inside ISKCON, because not found in ISKCON.
I don't know if she's so surprised about that. She'd have to speak herself, but I doubt if she's surprised by that. My Guru Maharaj spoke about these tattvas quite often, and obviously in the context of these, this is Madhya Lila chapter 25. And you look at the next verse, I'll paste in the next verse, which makes it clear then in the context that this Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, our verse, is speaking about the Bhagavatam. In other words, or to put it in another way from Chaitanya Bhagavat, the Chaitanya Bhagavat says that Krishna Tulya Bhagavata Vibhusara Vishwai, is that right?
That's CC.
That's CC. Prema Moyi Bhagavata Krishna Vishriyanga, Chaitanya Bhagavat says that the Bhagavatam is made out of Krishna Prem, and it's Krishna's body. So to me, this verse also speaks a similar thing. Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva. When Krishna says that the Bhagavatam is made out of Prema, that's Bhakti Tattva, that's Prema Tattva, that's Krishna Tattva, that's Bhava Tattva, that's Rasa Tattva, that's Lila Tattva.
Truth about Leela. Scary to me. I had some thoughts to it actually, because it was for me. It created some thoughts when I was listening from Maharaj. You want to continue, Prabhu, or?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I had it strongly connected with another. I believe it comes a little earlier in Sanatan Shiksha, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains these three main, how you call it actually, angas or branches of transcendental knowledge of Tattva Gyan. And he says, he makes this, for me it's like sutra. I really have it as a help of grasping these principles, that Krishna Sambandha, Bhakti Abhideya, Prem Prayojan, like these, so these are like three main categories of the transcendental knowledge. And it's here, like Krishna Tattva means like Sambandha Tattva Gyan, Bhakti Tattva means Abhideya Tattva Gyan, Prem Tattva means Prayojan. And for me, the Bhava, Rasa, and Lila is like expanding on Prayojan. Is like,
yeah,
And also, I've seen a strong parallel with the structure of Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas, like that the first four Sandarbhas are Sambandha Tattva Gyan, then Bhakti Sandarbha in itself, and then the Priti Sandarbha as the Prayojan Tattva Gyan, which describes all these tattvas. And yeah, maybe I would, in answer to Krishna Kund Mataji, I'm pretty sure that if they study these tattvas as the tattvas, they must follow the guidelines of Sandarbhas. Otherwise, I can't really imagine how else they could structure it like that. That's probably what you were asking. That we don't see that Srila Prabhupada would, make a title Krishna Tattva and then discuss Krishna Tattva, but in Sandarbhas one can get in that structural approach pretty much, I would say. So that was the association for me, like then it's giving this Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan, Tattva Gyan, and then the Bhava, Rasa, and Lila are the expansions of Prayojan Tattva.
That makes perfect sense.
It's actually something I don't have it in my library, but because as I listen to Prem Prajan Prabhu, I remember from the older lectures specifically that he mentions Narayan Maharaja's verse book. It's how is it called? Siddhanta something. It's quite a well-known thing. And what's so attractive to me on it, that it seems to me that he's giving the verses according to tattvas. Like this is the Shastra Praman for Vaishnava Tattva, this is the Praman for Guru Tattva, and it works like in the categories. So I always wanted to look into it. How does the book look like? I was always
Yeah, it's divided. It's similar to Gaudiya Kantahara. You have Gaudiya Kantahara, right?
I didn't think so.
Gaudiya Kantahara is divided like that too. It's a shloka book that was made at the time of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta.
So that for me that was always like very attractive concept of doing the shloka book, because then exactly what Krishna Kund Mataji was asking, like I've never grasped the tattvas, like then you have the verses, like okay, this tattva is discussed with these verses or by these verses. Was actually that was one of my like my gratitudes to Prem Prayojan, to really bring the focus on the definitions. Like I've never had it so clear. Like what is the definition of sadhana bhakti, and then you're thinking, oh, do I know really? And then if you just have the verses, then it's so well, I don't know, approachable in a sense. And you just know, okay, beginning of the second chapter of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you have a definition. Same for bhava, same for prema. although the lecture was quite a different topic that we can't really grasp with the intellectual approach. So I'm probably destroying the whole message of Maharaja's lecture. I'm sorry.
Also, Dasha Mula Shiksha by Bhaktivinoda Thakur
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
also same gradation, almost same. Okay. So okay, maybe we could. Do you think we need? I think we need some Mangalacharan. Actually, we didn't chant it. Somehow we started with the discussion.
I can do something for me later. I'm still a little under the weather, please excuse me.
Mhm.
It's taking me a moment here. There it is. If you add me as a controller, whatever you call
Yes,
it,
yes, you are.
then I can do
Yes.
something. Narayanam namaskrityam naram shaivanarottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam dirayat vedi ramayane chaiva purane bharate tapa adavante chamadye chahari sarvatra giyate mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripa tamaham vande paramananda madhavam Paramananda he madhava Padunga luchi makaranda Se makaranda panakori Anande bolo hari hari Harinka name vandavela parikorive chakadola se chakadolanka padaye manamo rahu nirantare manamo nirantare rahu ha Krishna boli jiva jam Ha Krishna Boli Jao Jiva Mote Udhara Radha Dava Mote Udhara Radha Dava Mote Udhara Radha Dava Dharma projita kaitavo chaparamo nirmatsaranam satam Vedyam vastavamattavastu shivadam tapatrayo mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimba Parayishvaraha Sadyo Hridyavarudhyate Chakriti Shubhistakshanat Nigamakopataro Galitam Phalam Shukamukadamitra Javasam Yutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Mohoroho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaham Anarto Pasamam Sakshad Bhakti Yogam Radhokshaje Lokasya Janato Vidvams Chakre Satpata Samhitam Yasyam Vaishyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktirudpadyate Pumsa Shokamoha Bhayapaha Srimad Bhagavatam Paranamamanam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramaham Samekamamalam Gyanam Param Giyate Tattva Gyana Viragya Bhakti Sahitam Naiskamyam Aviskritam Touchchinvan Supatan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vamuchan Naraha Artoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatarta Vinirnayaha Gayatri Basharupo So Vedartha Paribramitaha Sarva Vedeti Hasanam Sadam Sadam Samudritam Sarva Vedanta Sadam Hi Shri Bhagavatam Ishyate Tadrasamrita triptasya nanyatya swadvachi kvachit Krishna bhakti rasa swarup Shri Bhagavatam Tate Veda Shastra Hoite Parama Mahatvam Chari Veda Upanishade Jata Kichu Hoya Tara Arta Nanavyasa Korila Sunshine Jesu Jehu Vishaya Vachana Bhagavate Sevu Slokeni Bandana Jivera Nistada Lagi Sutra Koilo Vyasa Mayavadi Pasha Shunile Vaya Sarvanasam Jao Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavirastani Ekanda Shayakoro Chaitanya Charani Bhagavata Jainamani Sejavana Samaha Tada Sastam Achijane Jane Prabhu Jana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Thank you very much. So maybe now Lila Purushottama first and me second we will share some what we something what we've got from lecture and maybe some discussion will arise from this. Okay, maybe Krishna Kund will have questions, maybe Mahananda Prabhu hopefully have comments and ideas.
Oh, we mentioned many things already. Yeah, that was I was that was actually quite interesting observation for me, like my personal observation, that it's so pleasing to hear the same understanding from different Vaishnavas than you are used to hear those understandings. So that was like it created a very pleasant feeling in my heart that, oh, there are Vaishnavas who understand the things in the same way, which is like so dear to my heart, based on from whom I'm hearing and from who was or is formative in my understanding Krishna consciousness. So that was like a general feeling over the katha, over the lecture. It was like, oh, this is so nice. It's nothing that I wouldn't know about Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, but with this lecture it was so obvious that we are hearing the things that we hear from Prabhu so many times, and from Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj and others. Yeah. Well, not many others, actually.
Bhaktivedanta Maharaj is wonderful.
Yeah, but for me, it was really like, it was like, oh, So it's so pleasant to hear it from the source also.
I know that feeling. Sometimes I feel like I'm starving. I'm dying. There's no water, and I'm in the desert. And then somebody comes along like Bhakti Vigan Maharaj, and oh my God! It's not just water; it's nectar. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I was remembering how Maharaj was claiming that you are a team. I was thinking like, yeah, that's the confirmation.
Well, that's Maharaj's mercy. Sometimes on the team, you have somebody who's what they call in America the water boy. He carries a water bottle and things, and he's part of the team. That's like me.
No. Yeah, because sometimes that's was what it's not just was, it is still a little concern for me, because my responsibility for Czech Bhakti Sangha is inviting guests and then take care of them also, or arrange for the care. But when I was like thinking whom to invite, you end up in a situation that you really have to consider the compatibility. It's not just, like.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you could invite Bhakti Vikas Maharaj and Sachinanda Maharaj, and they're both wonderful speakers and great Vaishnavas, but they may have a little different mood.
Exactly what I mean, yeah. So in that sense, it's like, yeah, I'm still coming to the same point. Like you're a team. When I listen from Maharaj, I don't end up in the contradictions and doubts, but I've heard something else from Prabhu, and I don't. What should I? Like what side do I take? And then it's just then it's farce. Then it's bogus. And in that regard, I really appreciate it. That's probably, I remember I started to listen to it from Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. I believe he brought that point to my attention from Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas. But you quoted also, actually, you mentioned it also, that on the beginning you usually like can listen to any Vaishnava, any kata, but as you're like maturing and being more specific about what inspires you in Krishna consciousness, what taste do you appreciate, then you start to be more how
Selective.
select, yeah, that's the word. More selective from whom you, and it's not like from whom you want, but from whom you really you are able to hear. Because one thing is to hear like mechanically. You can sit on a lecture anywhere. You can just go to the temple, sit on a Bhagavatam, but you're not listening because you're not present there with the heart. You can just it happens to me actually with my pride and foolishness, that if my taste is challenged, then I start to the inner conversation, and then I argue with the speaker, and that's not proper, and then this is not a proper, and it's that's not Shravana. That's not listening. So in that sense, you really, so that you can really do Shravana, you can be there with your heart, with your absorption, with your taste, with your being. Then you have to be selective. You just can't do otherwise, actually.
This is a really interesting subject. Maybe I shouldn't even say these things, but since it's a little private, I'll speak freely somewhat. One of the things that really struck me a lot about my Guru Maharaj was how he was sometimes hearing from persons, although not on a regular basis, but if they would come to visit him in the temple or on Padayatra, he might stop by visit some Babaji or one disciple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, or sometimes he would take different books, and he had a lot of different books from a lot of different Vaishnavas, and he took thoughts from them. And I was initially very taken aback by that, because that's just not what we do in ISKCON. And we're warned so many times, don't go to Prem Prayojan, don't go to Hare Krishna, don't go to anybody outside of ISKCON. And I also learned from my Guru Maharaj that there's some reason to say that. Now, recently, I was reading a book from someone outside of ISKCON, and I was struck by some appreciation of the book, which is written by one of my godbrothers who took sannyas outside of ISKCON. And he was saying how he was really appreciating this sadhu, but how it was a little difficult for him at first to accommodate some of the differences that he had, because this particular sadhu, he was told that his swarup is in Dwarka, that in Dwarka Leela, not in Braj Leela. And so my godbrother was, he had some reservations about that, but then he had some realizations that no, you can take certain things. In fact, he asked the sadhu too, and the sadhu told him exactly this: you can take certain things from me, that's just fine. So we can do that at a certain point. And this injunction, which we have generally in ISKCON, which I'm not at all trying to criticize or belittle, is necessary. In fact, as I sometimes comment, I've seen the same kind of injunction amongst followers of different Babajis and Goswamis and Gaudiya Math and different things. Over and over again, they tell their followers, don't go outside of our line, don't go to ISKCON, don't go to this place or that place. Because that's what you tell small children. We give the example, if the child's 3 or 4 years old, you tell them, don't go outside the fence. And the child that wants to know why, what can you tell them? Somebody might kidnap you, somebody might this. You just tell them something simple, because everybody on the other side of the fence is bad. The child can't understand something so complicated. So in a similar way, everybody says this thing about hearing it from outside persons. But one thing I appreciate about Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj, and I saw very much in my Guru Maharaj, and also in Fakir Mohan Prabhu, was the ability to appreciate different persons and take things from them. And if we think about Srila Prabhupada, he also did that. Even he took the famous story from Charlie Chaplin as another example. We printed in one of our magazines some time back about once the devotees were traveling someplace and they went to some Krishna temple, and it was very dirty and broken, and the pujari, his hair was like really wild, and he looked like a crazy person. And during the artik, he was like very kind of strange how he was doing things, and he like threw the water at them during the artik and things. And afterwards, Prabhupada's servant asked him, Prabhupada, can I ask you a question? Prabhupada said, no, not now, later on. And then later, when they were privately, the devotees said, Prabhupada, you've always told us that deity worship means cleanliness and punctuality and things, and this pujari, and Prabhupada just interrupted him. He said, he is a different kind of person, but we appreciate him. Now, Prabhupada said that, but I don't think Prabhupada would say that, Lila Purushottam Prabhu, if you were doing artik and you behaved like that in a temple and Srila Prabhupada was watching, I don't think Prabhupada would say that about you. I think Prabhupada would probably call you and chastise the hell out of you. That's our general ISKCON standard. But in the story, Prabhupada was appreciating someone outside, just like he appreciated Professor Mishra, who was a Mayavadi. But Prabhupada was friends with him. And maybe even, I don't know if anything Prabhupada took from him, but it's possible Prabhupada could have took some principles of yoga and health or whatever from it. You know, there's nothing wrong with taking some, but on an institutional level, we just don't speak about that. It's difficult for our society. People will doubt you. They'll say, Lila Purushottam Prabhu, you know, he's listening to these other people. He's a deviant. He's this and that. And so just for your sake, you don't do that. And for the sake of the devotees, if you have that, yeah, Krishna Kun, his heart is for Krishna. For the sake of the devotees, if you, and I worry about this sometimes because I often speak about visiting different Vaishnavas. And I do that purposely because I want to encourage devotees to be broad-minded. But I'm also aware that there's a danger in that if I kind of unspokenly glorify the idea that you can go and visit different Vaishnavas with different kind of tilak or something and actually appreciate them, oh my God, what a shock that is, then who knows, people might just go everywhere. And then there'd be a problem. And it's a fact for young devotees, it shouldn't. Anyway, that was my reflection on what you said. And I really, I could tell you a personal story about this with Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj and myself. A few years ago, we were doing a retreat with Maharaj in Russia. Krishna Kun would remember the name of the place. I don't remember. And Maharaj, this is a private comment. Also, don't repeat this everywhere. I don't think Maharaj would appreciate it. But Maharaj was speaking, at that time he was a GBC member, and he was complaining about how the devotees in Moscow were abusing him because what happened, one prominent Gaudiya Math sannyasi guru, Bodhayan Maharaj, who was just like the sweetest, most gentle, non-critical person in the world and so supportive of everybody. But Bodhayan Maharaj came to Moscow, Anapa. Yeah, thank you, Krishna. Bodhayan Maharaj came to Moscow, and Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj dared to invite him to come to the temple. Oh my God, it was a scandal. And then when Bodhayan Maharaj came to the temple, not only did Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj invite him to the temple, but he treated him nice. He was very respectful to him. And then not only that, the worst thing, he asked him to sit on the Vyasa-san and give a talk. Oh my God, it was a scandal. And Bodhayan Maharaj insisted that Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj sit next to him, and the two of them sat together and gave a talk. And it really created a big, the devotees became very upset about it. And they were complaining, how can you do this and this and this?
Sorry.
Excuse me, I shouldn't talk so much. And at the time, when Maharaj was telling me all this, and he was it was a personal talk, just the two of us, and he was speaking this thing, just expressing it to me like a friend. This is what they're doing to me. And then to kind of act like the devil's advocate, I said, well, Maharaj, aren't you concerned that, you know, this other person's giving the class and some devotees might be attracted to him and they might even want to ask him for initiation? And I was in complete ecstasy by Maharaj's response. He became really angry with me. And he like snapped at me. He said, so what if they do? So what if they do? What's the problem? What's the problem? And I really, really appreciated that.
But may I share my thoughts?
I'm sorry, what?
May I share my thoughts on it?
Yeah.
I never bought this propaganda that that we should separate the Vaishnavas in this way. Like in Czech, for a period of time, there was few enthusiastic devotees who propagated the idea that, you know, like Paramadvaiti Maharaja's ideas, you know, all the Vaishnavas get together and we will cooperate and like that. Didn't buy that either. I think the institutions are framed for its purpose. Like we don't have to have common ratayatras and everything shared, everything common. No. The societies, the institutions can still work, but why should we create the atmosphere of fear? You know, like being scared of seeing some the same Gaudiya Vaishnava, even within mostly in the Western world, mostly within the frame of Saraswata line. So it's even more safer actually. It's not even, you know, like we don't speak exactly about Babaji line and whatnot, you know, Bengali Apasampradayas and but but why should someone create fear in me? And fear is one thing. That's one thing, and even worse is the offensive mentality towards those Vaishnavas. You know, like, oh, he's from the Gaudiya Math. How can he sit on the Vyasasan? Oh, he's Vaishnava sannyasi. He's learned. Oh, like, why not? I think this should be like overcome I don't see any positive result from creating these uh, you know what I mean. Like I was so happy with with you sharing Maharaja's reaction to you. That was exactly my thoughts even before you said it. Was my thought was, oh, what if he's attracted to him? He's a Vaishnav, and there is aspiring Vaishnav attracted to experienced Vaishnav. What's wrong with that connection? It will be helpful to that Vaishnava.
And if you love them, then they'll always continue to be part of the congregation and part of the temple, maybe, and working with you as long as you love them. And who cares who they're initiated by? As
Yeah,
long as they're not speaking some bogus philosophy or criticizing the leaders or causing problems, what's the problem? But I thinking of all this too, my Guru Maharaj, he personally instructed me privately. He said that if you go, he didn't say if, he said when you go to visit different sadhus, don't let other people know
mhm.
in the society. And he advised Tamal Krishna Maharaj, this is a private comment too, kind of, he advised Tamal Krishna Maharaj and some of the devotees who were going outside of ISKCON to one prominent sannyasi, that there's no harm in going to a sadhu. But the problem is that if it's done publicly and people know about it, then it will cause problems in the society. What you're saying, I 100% agree with. My heart's completely there. But the sad fact of the matter is, and you know this very well, living in Czech, we've had so many talks about this, that most of the devotees are just not that mature yet.
Yeah.
Even a lot of the older devotees, they just can't digest. And anything that's even a little bit different, seemingly, then they make a big deal out of it.
But my point to the discussion is that it won't help us to support that mood.
No, so what should we do? My suggestion is we should be wise about it and consider how to best help them. And I like the methodology of my Guru Maharaj, and also I see with Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj. The Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj he's seen many different sadhus. Sometimes I've gone with him, but he doesn't advertise that. And what he does is he just speaks Siddhanta, which is not always done in our society.
Yeah.
And by speaking Siddhanta and getting devotees used to understanding Shastra and Tattva, then in effect, in a way, that's also, if we make that the standard, then they can begin to digest other sadhus outside. And then we'll look at them instead of just looking to see what kind of tilak they have or this or that. We'll look to see what is the Siddhanta they're speaking.
Yeah. Like for me, a wonderful example is Shama Sundar with Shama Priya in our reading group. Like it's like it's perfect harmony. Yeah, who cares who initiates?
That's right.
Yeah, no one of our group thinks that, oh, it's dangerous to have them here. It's like it's not even, it's not on a plate. You don't think so.
Actually, my impression of your Sangha or any Sangha that's has different people from different places, I think it's a very rich Sangha. I think it's a more mature Sangha that they're able to have different people from different groups come. I always appreciate, sometimes in our yatras in Puri, several times, a number of times, we've had Babajis come and listen to my classes or Gaudiya Math devotees or whatever. And I always feel very honored to have them come. And I feel like it's such an opportunity to be respectful to them and to be a representative of my Guru Vargas, my Guru Maharaj and Prabhupada. And when they come, then I want to treat them like a special guest, not just like a guest, but a special guest, because they're coming from a little outside. Sadly, most of the devotees at this point, they're not that mature, at least in the big temple situation, and maybe they never will be in the big temple, because we're always going to have new people. Maybe it's just not the kind of atmosphere, the kind of situation. But we need to create sanghas that are mature enough. And just by having your sangha like that and check, some people will criticize you, I'm sure they do, about those things. But other devotees will feel, oh, actually, look, they're getting along just fine, and they're not, wearing saris and dancing in the moonlight, some strange thing. But they're normal, good devotees, but they're also respectful and have different other people coming. And even what to speak of someone initiated in the Gaudiya Math, what if someone comes to our sanghas and is a Christian or is a Muslim? And as we commented sometimes, that happened to us in one Islamic country we were going to some years ago. I make a policy not to mention the name of the country, we'll get in trouble. But there was one woman coming to all of our classes wearing a burqa. And she was in it. I later found out she was chanting 16 rounds a day also. That's glorious. That such a woman would feel comfortable enough to come to the Sangha. And why is it that I think most ISKCON devotees would be happy if some lady comes in a burqa to the temple program, they'd feel honored. But why do we feel honored by her and we don't feel happy if someone comes from a Babaji line or someone comes from the Gaudiya Math? We should even feel more happy. This person knows Siddhanta. They're part of our broader Gaudiya family, and they're inspired by what's going on here. This is great. And then you just have to look at their behavior. If they start canvassing people or criticizing the ISKCON leaders or the administration and things, then maybe you have to ask them not to come. But if they're not causing a problem, then they're not a problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not about the Bhagavatam now.
No, my question in that matter is always like, isn't it the responsibility of those mature devotees to guide and educate those young devotees who we now consider not enough mature to be, let's say, exposed to that inter-institutional dealings, isn't it within their means and within their capacity, knowledge to present properly to those young devotees and guide them in that matter? Like, what does it mean to be respectful to the other Vaishnavas, simultaneously to be loyal to your Guru Varga, to your family, to your jata, and these things are graspable like in a proper way. We don't have to endlessly take the excuse that, oh, they are immature. It's your example. It's like if
Well, my question would be, you're presuming that those mature devotees are mature, but maybe it's not within their maturity. Maybe those mature devotees are not really mature.
yeah, I don't mean I don't judge that maturity based on years in Krishna consciousness, because yeah, we can see it around us that it doesn't say so much, say something but doesn't say so much about the maturity. But I mean really like mature meaning mature, that they can deal with these things in a
Yeah.
proper Vaishnava way, in a Siddhantic way even.
I 100% agree. But the problem is, like with Jesus Christ, when he told them the truth, they crucified him. Was it Lewis Carroll, the famous writer? He once said that if you tell someone the truth, make them laugh, otherwise they'll kill you. So we have to present things, and I saw that with my Guru Maharaj. He presented things. He would laugh. He would just laugh so hard. Sometimes he'd practically be crying when he would say heavy things on the Vyasa Sun, and people were able to digest that and accept it. That's the art of preaching, and some people can't really do that, and that's okay. They can only speak some straight stuff, and then maybe their preaching is a little more limited, and they can only preach to their particular group and whatever, and that's okay, and then they can really go deep in it. We need both things. I don't mind, the institution broad preaching thing is always going to be with a lot of neophytes, and they can't really digest broad-minded things, and that's why Bhaktivinoda stressed so many times about sectarianism and being the enemy of the truth and all that. Yeah, it's required, and when devotees do become a little mature, then they say, "What is this? This is not. Why can't I like this other person? What's wrong with liking being friends with someone? Maybe they're a Christian and I'm a Hare Krishna, or they're a Gaudiya Mat devotee and I'm a Hare Krishna. It's ridiculous." Someone who's more mature can see that, but if they're not that mature, and you speak that they may hang you on a cross. Something, you got to be careful.
Krishna. Thank you for warning.
You've already been hung already.
Feel the rope on the neck. Yeah, I was reminded of a few points from the lecture actually, so that we can get back into the it was towards the end of the katha, Maharaj started to explain the relevance of the say systematical or intellectual approach to Bhagavatam, opposed to what the basic theme was, that you can't really grasp it. It has to be revealed to you. But he mentioned this passage from Jaiva Dharma about the proper hearing of Bhagavatam and improper, Kramahina Shravana and Kramashuddha Shravana. So that was also thing that I would like to have the opportunity to dive deeper into, actually, because one thing is discuss it on the external level, like going canto by canto and then proper amount, proper speed, and then all these things. But then always and necessarily to please you, we will end up with the that there must be behind that word krama, there must be also the inner part of the meaning, like what really that krama is on the inner level, like what's like, meaning like that's my thoughts on it, like hearing according to what you digested, what you realized, and like that, like not that would be like my thoughts if one could get some proper guidance on that part, because the external is more or less easy if we understand the basic guidelines, but that inner part is more, requires more. So that was another point from the kata that sticked out for me as a thought-provoking. How to really understand deeply Kramahina and Kramashuddha.
Mm-hmm. Maharaj was speaking about that, was he?
Yeah. That's
wow.
Why.
That's such an important subject. That's great. I'm really hoping, just as a note from my participation in these discussions, that when we go to going through certain verses, whole cantos, I just find it very daunting. Like, yeah, I'm going to sit down this week and study the whole 12th canto and have a summary understanding, or even listen to a lecture about it and understand it. Because my process personally is I hear something, but then I like to be able to read through it and get my own perspective from the reading. And if it's such a wide thing as one whole canto or something, I really, it's really hard for me then. There's a verse, it reminds me, from the third canto. Actually, I can put on the board here if I'm still empowered. And with Vishwanath Chika, which supports what you're just saying. This is my trade of Vidura. Tatapi kirtayam yanga yata mati yata shrutam kirtam hare swam satkartum giram anyavidasitim. In spite of my inability, whatever I have been able to hear from the spiritual master, and whatever I could assimilate, I'm now describing in glorification of the Lord by pure speech, for otherwise my power of speaking would remain unchaste. So he says these two things. Yata shrutam guru mukat, Vishwanath explains it, that whatever I've heard from my guru. And then tatapi yatamati, so budhya, whatever I've understood, yatamati, by my intelligence. And that means, and Vishwanath says it, that he didn't speak everything that he heard, but he spoke those things which he could understand. So this is a beautiful description about what we should speak and how we should speak. And when we speak, it's we have a tendency amongst a lot of people to want to speak very high things about Ras Leela and the gopis and the manjaris. We've been going through topics recently on this, and I feel very uncomfortable with that. And it's not that I don't have access to thoughts on that and materials and stories and so many things which we could do, but the system, as spoken here by Maitreya de Vidura, is that it should be something I've heard from my guru, and I've heard some things about these topics from him, and it should be something that I've assimilated. Even out of the thousands of things I heard from my guru, how many of those things did I assimilate? Guru Maharaj sometimes would tell us that you should, if someone asks you to speak, you must. He said, but you should speak what you've heard from the previous acharyas, and you should speak according to your realization. That's the principle, which is exactly what you're touching on.
Yeah.
You read Jaguar's comment?
Yeah, I read. Feel embarrassed.
The only thing is, Jaguar, if Leela Purushottam Babu and I do that, then we'll both be banned from different places. Unless we like, edit it heavily afterwards, or just like put our hands over our mouth sometimes.
These beeps, like will be.
It can be password protected.
So Natalia, sorry. Nikunja Bihari.
Nikunja Bihari is a much better name.
Yeah, so much. So beautiful, actually.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. Oh, I don't know. I would say something which I took for myself from lecture, and just that this mood that I know everything about Krishna is atheism, and it is mood of Madhura, actually. And also only when we are bewildered, like Brahma in Brahma Vimohana Lila, when he became like really bewildered that Krishna is Krishna is on in Vrindavan on the bank of Yamuna. Krishna is in the cave. His friends and calves are also in the cave, and also like this Narayana is in every form of a calf, and there are endless counts of other Brahmas who are worshipping every form of Narayana and every calf, and only in this mood, only in this situation, he could see the real Vrindavan, it is said. Only when he was just when he understood that he does not understand anything, only then he was given the view of real Vrindavan. So this is very sweet.
I was reminded of one more point that was important for me. That was when Maharaj dealt with the uniqueness of understanding the Bhagavatam through Gaudiya Siddhanta, through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that was like from the beginning, the importance of that katha. But at one point, he dealt more specific about the differences, like what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in what aspects of understanding he differed from actually all other sampradayas, and even from Madhvacharya. It was so strong. I was quite surprised, when he mentioned that Madhvacharya lists when he lists the types of aparadhis, offenders, then among them is one who differentiates between the forms of the Lord, which is like, you know, we have such a big portions of that in Sanatana Shiksha and in
Oh boy, let me jump in for a moment. This is one of my pet peeves, what you're saying. I was trying to find a verse in my notes, by the way, to support what Nikunja Biharni was saying. There's a verse in Chaitanya Bhagavat. I'll be able to find it in a minute. It says that one who thinks they know about the Bhagavatam doesn't know the Bhagavatam. But I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, I'm really not feeling so good. What were you saying again at the end, Lila Purushottam?
that how Maharaj was stating these differences of
About Madhvacharya. This is one of my pet peeves because some of my friends who are very learned Vaishnavas and exhibit very nice Vaishnava behavior in many ways outside of ISKCON, but they've chosen to demonize some devotees, Sundarananda Vidyananda in particular. And one of the things they criticize about him is that the Sundarananda said we don't agree with Madhvacharya about certain things, but the fact is we don't. Madhvacharya said some really off-the-wall things. He said the queens are the greatest devotees, not the gopis, and that living entities are in three modes of nature and eternally. And that the Buddha jivas are always going to be Buddha. They're never going to get liberation. Oh, excuse me, he said the demigods are the best devotees. That's what he said, not even the queens of Dwarka, the demigods. It's just disturbing. That's not our teaching at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but again, it goes back to this point that we were making earlier, that amongst institutions, when we're making an institutional presentation of Krishna consciousness, there may be some mature things that you can say, but you can't do it in public. I'll give you an example. One very senior ISKCON sannyasi was giving a class once, and he was speaking about the four regulated principles. And I raised my hand at the end, and I said, well, how do we consider Garuda? He's a non-vegetarian Vaishnav. And his response was just to blast me. He didn't answer my question at all, didn't even address it. He just, how dare you ask that, and nonsense, and this, and this, and this. Maybe it was even appropriate in the temple there at that time. I don't know. Maybe, obviously, he felt that it was. But that was very discouraging for me, how they can deal with me like that. And that's why, for me, Leela, I think you and I are kindred souls in this regard, that I just don't put so much faith in the institution consideration and just hanging out with the guys in the temple. I'd much rather go to your home or go to someone else's home where it's more personal and intimate. And that's a very important thing. And that's the basis of the Bhagavatam also. Jaho Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavadastani. To understand the Bhagavatam, you have to go to a person. Well, hello, Vallabhacharya gave a commentary, which we sometimes criticize. But if you read, I think in the purport in the first verse of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada comments that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said we should read the commentaries of, and he mentions Vallabhacharya. We should read. Now, I have Vallabhacharya's commentary translated into English, and it's a little weird in some ways. I would say weird is not a good word, but it's very different in some ways. He has a very different kind of perspective. And to say different is a proper word, not weird. Weird is improper. He gives a very different perspective, and sometimes maybe we can't digest that. But what's wrong with a little different perspective? Even we could say, if we're so bold, we could say, what's wrong with the perspective of Shankaracharya, which we say Mayavadi, Aparadi, and all these things. But at the same time, why was he speaking that? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us that. Why was Shankaracharya speaking a certain way that he did? He had a purpose. And unless we understand that purpose, then we're gonna just criticize him. But he's our Acharya. He's Shankar Acharya. So it's not enough just to, to say these are the guys, the good guys in the good camp, they wear white hats, and these are the guys in the bad camp, they wear black hats, and we don't like them. Anyway.
Yeah.
And this is an important principle of the Bhagavatam, that Jahu Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavarastani, that the only way to understand the Bhagavatam is through a devotee, but then that means you're going to understand it in different ways from different persons. If you talk to Samba, Krishna's son, or one of the residents in Dwarka, what he's going to tell you is the absolute truth, but it's not going to be the same as what one of the Brijbasis will tell you.
Yeah, but that's why that's how I understand the context of Maharaja's stating these things, that what we really want or desire, we want to understand Bhagavatam through the Gaudiya lens, through the lens of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's what we that's what we subscribed for, if I would say so. Although Maharaj was quite strong about it, that actually otherwise you can't really get the deepest imports of the Bhagavatam if you don't view it through the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I can be perfectly okay with it, although it may sound sectarian in a way to other Vaishnavas, to other Sampradayas, but we have like many reasons to reason so, I would say.
One of the things I've appreciated about Bhaktivedanta Maharaj's presentation of the Bhagavatam from the very first classes he gave on this is that the Bhagavatam is a Bhava Grantha.
Yeah.
And we need to understand Siddhanta. We need to understand Bhagavatam according to Mahaprabhu's teachings. To understand it through the perspective of Siddhanta is like riding a bicycle and having training wheels. It helps. But at a certain point, you have to have your own balance. You have to take those wheels off and ride the bicycle yourself. And that means ultimately it's a Bhava Grantha. It's going to be realized. The Bhagavatam is going to manifest itself. Shushu Shoshadidana Shah, the verse indicates, by rendering service to the sadhu, we get Kata Ruchi. And through that Kata Ruchi, we understand the Bhagavatam. This is a real Bhagavatam. Just trying to understand it with the training wheels perspective, the Siddhanta, we understand something, and it's necessary. Training wheels are necessary, but the real Bhagavatam is when you begin to take off yourself. I was hearing recently, was it Bruce Lee, I think it was, speaking about martial arts, and he was speaking in such a beautiful way that martial arts is not just learning this movement and that movement and this, but it's learning the essence of those things. And maybe you also take from other different traditions. He was in some part of Kung Fu, but you take from some other traditions also, and you have ultimately your own expression. And you could call it your own style, but you have your own expression, we could say your own realization. And that's going to be there for the Bhagavatam. And that's why it's important that we hear, as you were citing earlier, Maharaj stresses that we hear from someone that we have faith in, someone who speaks in a way that resonates with us. To hear from Samba about the Bhagavatam is bona fide from a certain perspective. To hear from Prophet Muhammad, Prabhupada said, I was just reading some comments Prabhupada made about Muhammad. He's a sadhu and he's bona fide, but he's not the person I want to hear from. I don't even want to hear from Samba. So that comes later on with some maturity, but that's an essential aspect of hearing the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, what I understood, what was like very important point, how Maharaj connected these two things actually, like that part of the revelation and the like guidelines for even like the external guidelines for the hearing was that you really achieve the revelation when you go the proper path, in a sense, like when you
From a Sutta.
yeah that
Sutta Shalom Dasa.
one term to use, but it's, even like in a sense that if you listen from the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and based on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conclusions, then you will arrive to the you will not it's at one point the intellectual platform just stops, but the same process continues, and you are revealed you're it's revealed to you the like the bhavas, the emotions that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has towards Bhagavatam. So in that sense, I don't know if I can really express what I want. Like for me, Maharaj connected these things that you're not depend. Yeah, you don't depend on the intellectual reading the text and being able to repeat it and like this. That's why he mentioned that story with that Bengali poet who was chastised by Swarup Damodar. And then he mentioned those guidelines that you have to hear it from the devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have to take shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you have to take always shelter of devotees who devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have to always stay in their association. That's the point of that verse.
Yeah, and there's different aspects of that. One is a Bahiranga Vichar, or an external consideration. Another is an Antaranga, or an internal consideration. And of course, the internal consideration is the most important. But as long as we're Bahirmukh, we're external, then we're only going to be able to understand the Bahiranga part. And so for those persons, it's still a benefit. We tell them we study Bhakti Shastri and learn the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Those are the training wheels for their bike. And it helps them, it protects them from upasiddhanta and wrong things, so that they can practice riding their bicycle. And eventually, if they keep doing that and they do things properly, they don't commit offenses to Vaishnavas, they chant nicely and things, and eventually they'll be able to ride the bicycle on their own.
Yeah, and then the antaranga aspect of it would be your attitude towards those instructions of Swarup Damodar, meaning like, if I want to understand Bhagavatam, if I say so, or realize Bhagavatam would be probably more proper. If I want to realize Bhagavatam, that I want to hear from realized Vaishnava, from Gurudev, and the other two things, and that attitude will constitute your inner path, your antaranga path, which will bring you to the realization where like that was the message for me, that at one point you just the revelations will come if that attitude is proper, if you fulfill those advices of Swarup Damodar, what should be your approach to studying Bhagavatam, to being in contact with Bhagavatam, then that, yeah, as you mentioned, like on the external platform, that's kind of a guidelines, and on the internal platform, they will bring you to it's I have it connected with, because Maharaj was also repeating it there, that if we accept that statement that Bhagavatam can only be understood, let's use this word, understood through the bhavas, like or through the samadhi, let's say, that's the terminology that he's using. Like most of the Bhagavatam is given to us in the samadhi bhashya from Shukadev Goswami. And for us to understand Bhagavatam, we also have to be in that samadhi. And I have those guidelines that Swarup Damodar gave to that Bengali poet. I have it connected with, like, if he would be giving you the guidance or guidelines, how, with what attitude you can arrive to the bhava, and then the Bhagavatam will be revealed to you. Like that's how I connected these two things.
Yes. A connected thought, but a little different, came to my mind when you're talking about. We may ask the question, what was the problem? Because I mentioned about Vallabhacharya and hearing from him, or reading his commentary, but we know in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Mahaprabhu wasn't impressed with his commentary, he said some things, and when later Vallabha felt very frustrated and he tried to forcibly make Gadadhar Pandit listen to his commentary, Gadadhar was like a crisis for him. I'm going to get in trouble with Mahaprabhu and that. So what's wrong with Vallabhacharya's commentary, especially in the light of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta saying we should read it? So it seems like two contradictory perspectives. On the one hand, Mahaprabhu is rejecting it. On the other hand, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is saying we should read it. How do we understand these two different things? So I would suggest that what Mahaprabhu didn't appreciate about it was the bhav of it, the particular mood of Vallabha. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was saying that for scholars in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we should understand different commentaries. And Prabhupada even told us we should read the books of Shankaracharya and different Mayavadis sometimes to see what their perspectives were about certain things. And by the way, a lot of things that they'll say about Varnashram Dharma or about different topics like that, they may be very valuable about how to study, how to speak, how to be humble, how to, there's so many good things. Shankaracharya wrote a Kopanastakam, 8 prayers glorifying the bearers of the people who wear kopans. We published that some years back. It's cool. It's a nice thing, glorifying sannyas in that. It's not that every single thing he ever said is wrong and bad, but what is it that we don't appreciate? We don't appreciate this bhav, especially in it's, I guess we'd have to say it's more Siddhantic too, that to try to say that sarvam kalvidam Brahma, we're all Brahman, Siddhantically we don't agree with that. But it's coming from a particular bhav, from one perspective of it. And that's why this apparent distinction is there between the mood of Mahaprabhu toward Vallabha and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta.
Thank you.
maybe since everybody's quiet for a moment now, maybe I can kind of take your leave. I really need to rest a little more. I'm sorry, I'm still not quite up to all this. It's really nice to see everybody, though. I really appreciate it. And you don't have to stop because of me, but you can continue your discussion. But
Thank you, Prabhu, so much.
Thank you very much.
Krishna.
Okay. No, maybe some, I don't know, maybe Krishna Kunta, Jagorat Chandra also want to say something about the topic. And after that, some organizational stuff. Yes, thank you for this topic also. It is like different parts of Gaudiya family. It was there are different moods and different yatras about this. And lately in Latvia, Prem Prayojana Prabhu and his and many ISKCON devotees, senior ISKCON devotees who were listening to him were restricted from visiting temple. But in summer last year, GBC said, no, we have to be like family, like family. We have to welcome all Vaishnavas in our temples. Now there is no problem anymore. Okay. So next Thursday we will take last lecture, 17th lecture, I guess, and then I hopefully all the materials we will get already of the new module. Materials are ready in English already, but they want to upload it to a platform, and now they're searching for some educational platform. I said we don't need a platform because it is too much to learn how to use a new platform or something like that. But they said it should be like copyrighted, and it should not go just like links, YouTube links and everything like that. So they definitely want to see who has access to all the lectures and materials. That is what we are waiting for. Although in Russian, I have heard already for coordinators for in Ukrainian and Russian groups, the first seminar is already open. I have listened to it, and actually, it is also about the same topic which we discussed today, and how to approach Srimad Bhagavatam in the right way, and also I will prepare some visuals which I for the next Thursday, which I promised to prepare some table with all topics in all cantos and all.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
If it could be in a printable format, it would be great.
Okay, yes, I will try. Yeah. Oh, yes, so like this, and Maharaj says there is no end. There will be at least one seminar on each chapter of Bhagavatam, or maybe sometimes few seminars on one chapter, and it is just we will worship Srimad Bhagavatam in this way just forever till the end of life. And so,
good.
yes, and yeah, and actually the mood of learning is telling katha from will be not some structural studies, not theoretical studies, but the mood is listening to someone who has power and rasa, and trying to tell, and so and going into this mood like of telling, retelling, and encouraging to listen and with a taste. This will be the mood of our studies.
Okay.
Okay. Jai. Panchka, Tarup, Chakrips. Sorry?
Thank you, Nikunja Biharini, for all the support.
This is some mercy which I occasionally got, and I'm trying to develop a right attitude towards it, not to lose it. So, yes.
We are indebted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Gora, Gora.
Jai. So happy to see you also.
Yeah. Hare
Not for long. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.